All right, I'll admit sometimes you know, my camera is a little out of focus, but when you have you know, less light or a low light camera, trying to get this thing focused when you're out on a zoomed out at full zoom, um, it is a little tough to do when you're looking at a small screen. You might have the light in your eyes, you know, or reflection on the screen that you see, but you know, other people want to know why I do, you know, these long videos and why I don't edit a lot of the stuff out. Because there's a lot of small details in them, especially on days that you get good visibility. Oh my God. You know, you look at this boat and you have to ask yourself, how far out is it? That thing's miles and miles from me. And, you know, one of the other things is you know, I pay attention to those smaller details that a lot of people overlook, like, you know, seeing the birds in the water or seeing a bird fly across the water. I mean, I've gotten birds where they were big that fly into the mirror or the mirage and they vanish, and then they pop back up, they vanish, they pop back up. But here, you know, I can zoom out and see these tiny birds way out there, that are much bigger than that bird that flew in and out of the mirage. You know, I don't know what it is, but, you know, they always want you to think that it's refraction pulling something up from behind the curve. Now, you take this boat, for instance, and think about this. If you cannot see an object with your camera, then how is it being refracted upward? If anything, once you see an object, it's most likely going to be refracted downward than it would be upward. Just think about that. You know, if the object is not out there for you to visually see, then how is this magical force of refraction pulling it up into your line of sight? I mean, it would have to roll up so many miles of curvature to set it perfectly out flat in front of you. And you know, you get into angular resolution, angular limit of light propagation. I tell you, a good one to go visit is Curious Life's videos. All right, this bird rack is the North Rack. At least I'm pretty sure it is. And you can even see the signs that are actually, those signs are behind it, depending on where you're positioned at. But when I came up on this island, or this bird rack on my boat, those signs were behind it. And you wonder, how in the world am I seeing that? From Bayport, they're approximately 8 miles out, a little over 8 miles. Now here's this boat that I pick up. And this was one of the main boats that I was looking at. That you can obviously see the whole boat in the water. Now remember that that boat is probably making a wake, and it is probably cutting out a small portion of it. But, you know, when you start looking at the birds in the water that are closer to me, and these birds go in and out of sight, you know, due to the little waves, just think of, you know, being on the east coast of Florida and looking at, you know, a large ship going out. There's 6-8 foot swells out there. So how much would that be actually blocking off things? And then when you compare, like, say, these dolphins that are close to me, the size of them, to that tiny little speck out there on the horizon, you know, which I can't even see this with my naked eyes. And I actually get lucky at one point where I zoom away and I zoom off to something else, and then I swing my camera back around and find it fairly quickly. And that's only because I was kind of using the wall, the seawall that I'm sitting beside, as kind of a line of sight to where I could figure out kind of whereabouts that boat was going to be again when I zoom back in on it. Now look at that boat. It goes by and it's throwing up a big wake. or a fishtail, and it covers this boat up. Now, if my camera is able to resolve a particular water line, it's going to just resolve that water line. Anything beyond it is going to get sucked down into those swells. So again, when you're filming big ships, there is a difference between filming these smaller boats. I mean, these are not tiny little boats. This boat right here is 40 to, I'm going to say 40 to 60 foot long. Not much bigger than that. But when you compare these birds that are in the water, and you notice how these birds are going in and out of view just due to the small swell there. Now, that's why I can't see them when they're out there by that boat. There's no way that my camera can resolve them. So, of course, you're not going to see them. But here, this boat, I can see the ass end of that boat still in the water. And that boat's got to be at least 9 miles away. At least. And my camera is low to the ground. I always put the little picture in there. I didn't put it in this one. Only because I didn't think it was necessary, being that the tide had rolled out about a foot more. So, as the tide rolls out, yes, it does increase my camera height by that extra foot. But should I still be seeing this small of a boat at the distance that I am? And then when you compare the birds to maybe a person on that boat, oh my God, the bird's giant. That would be a giant bird, I mean, and then birds that fly, further past these birds are actually a little bit smaller, of course. That's perspective, by the way, and all these ball baby globetards keep coming on my channel, and I wouldn't call them globetards if they weren't insulting my intelligence and insulting my common senses. And this is one of the reasons why I do decide to block them out, because I just get sick of it. It would be like somebody coming into your home and insulting the shit out of you while they're sitting at your dinner table. Now, would you sit there and put up with that, or would you grab the son of a bitch by his damn britches and throw him out on his head? Well, I'd throw him out on his head, because you don't come into my home, my house, and make insulting remarks without me doing anything about it. These globetards, man, and I'm calling them ball babies, crying ball babies, because, they have a belief system that they were taught that they just try to regurgitate it. And because they were able to regurgitate it, parrot it, memorize it, and spit it out like it was a piece of chewing gum, then, of course, they're going to be considered brilliant guys, real smart people. Now, look at this. Look at this crab trap. I mean, the crab trap disappears, the boat disappears, everything disappears. Come on. Use those common senses. Like I say, they tell you that you got 5 senses. No, you don't. You got more than 5. You got that common sense, that critical thinking, that they don't tell you that you should be using, but instead they want to tell you all kinds of bullshit. All right, how about when I zoom in on a star and say I zoom in on Sirius? Sirius is supposed to be 8.611 light years away. Now, come on, people. How am I going to be zooming in on that? Yes, I do take a little break out now and then to enjoy this beautiful creature that swims in our oceans, our seas. One of the smartest animals out there, because dolphins are very intelligent, and you want to tell it that it don't live in a plane, and it has to swim around underneath the circle of Earth, or the curve of Earth, to get to the bottom. Come on, that dolphin has more common sense and more knowledge than all these people that have fallen for this belief system that's been handed to us. You know, they hand it to us on a silver plate. And then, of course, we're young. We just believe it because that's what we thought we were going to school for, was to learn, right? And, look at these birds. Ding, ding, in and out, in and out. So I mean, come on a bad day of visibility, would I even be seeing these birds, or would they kind of maybe be hidden in that bright light flashing off the water or reflecting off the water? All right, let's take the nebula in Orion's belt. Nebula in Orion's belt, we're told by science that it's 100 or 1,344 million or thousand, excuse me, 1,000 light years away. And do you think that I could zoom out and take pictures of that nebula in Orion's belt with a Nikon Coolpix P1000, but here I can't focus in on a boat that's only out 8-9 miles? Think about it. Think about it, people. Now, the whole time I was filming this, I'm kind of, you know, my camera's pointed off the seawall, but it's starting to, I'm starting to swing along, and I'm getting closer and closer to that seawall where all these people are standing. And there was a lady that kind of got real close to me with this great big old bag that she had in one arm, and she's using her cell phone in the other arm to take pictures of the dolphins that are beside me. And you know, I kept holding my hand out in front of my camera off to the right side of it, just in case she had bumped my tripod and knocked my camera in the water, or off the side of the seawall. But here I left this little bit of audio in here just so you can hear it. Check it out. It's kind of funny, but then again, it wouldn't have been if she knocked.
Did she not breathe? Look it over there.
Ma'am.
Ma'am, your purse is in front of his camera. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
We didn't know. We didn't know.
I was worried that you were going to bump it. That's why I had my hand down.
I forgot it was even on my arm.
I hope that it just jumps up.
And if you don't believe my pictures of the nebula in Orion's belt, take a look at the sun and moon halo video I just put out. At the end of it, I put some pictures of that nebula at the end of that video. Yeah, I've been doing some astrophotography. I've been doing some long exposure photography. Matter of fact, on this very night, I did some long exposures, zoomed out into the horizon, that turned out to be pretty cool. So, you know, I don't post a lot of those, which maybe I should, but I just don't. Again, I do a lot of this stuff for my personal reasons. Here's a good instance for that light diffraction, you know, where you can see that water or the air above the visible water line. There's that gap I was talking about, and at a certain distance, certain lighting, you can pick this up. Now, what is that behind or above it? That is water. And again, you know, because of our angular resolution, it's going to cause that mirroring effect, and it's just mirroring the sky above it. Another thing to consider is those clouds back on the horizon there. Shouldn't they be getting lit up too? I mean, I know a lot of these ball babies, you know, cry, "Oh, well, explain why the clouds get lit up from underneath." That's always a good one. I laugh about it because we know that water is very reflective. Light hits it, light bounces off, and light can be bouncing off the water back into the clouds above us. I mean, that's a pretty plain, simple, common sense thing that someone could use to think about. And of course, we could actually even do it. You know, you could put something um, above a mirror, because we know that the waters reflect like a mirror, and shine a light on it and light up the bottom of that, whatever you got above the mirror. Pretty plain and simple, but you know, these guys want to argue this all the time, and then I, you know, ask myself, well, why ain't those clouds way out on the horizon getting lit up from underneath? All right, it is because of the angular limit of light propagation. Once it's, you know, beyond a certain point, maybe my angle to those clouds, I don't see those lower clouds quite light up, except for on those heavy mirroring days, I do. Or where that light is coming in, it does seem to show more. Now, this right here, I believe, and I'm not positive because I haven't done the calculations yet, is Cutter's Rock. Cutter's Rock is 11 miles away from Bayport, and I'm at Pine Island, which I say it's 2.5 or 2 miles north of Bayport, but it does protrude out further than Bayport on the shoreline. So, you know, I'd have to do some recalculating to figure out all the distances to these bird racks, which I will plan on doing. I wanted to do them on a navigation map instead of on Google Earth, because they always laugh at us. All right, here's a boat that you might say, well, he's on the other side of the curve, right? But why is it that I can see? Now, in this part, I adjusted the contrast, the saturation, and brightness, and used the auto enhance, um, you know, to try to pull more of the details out of this. Um, you know, let's see what we can see with me doing that. Number one, we can definitely see the lights of the boat flashing. Um, Also, I can tell by just the way this boat looks, he's pretty much heading directly at me. He's not going off on an angle. I'm not getting a profile. I'm getting a, you know, front view of it, um, or a side profile. I'm getting a front view of this boat, and you can see the wakes that this boat is pushing off. So it tells me right there that I'm able to see this boat. It's not being cut off by the curvature of Earth. And there's many times I've gotten boats that are not even half this far away that turn into a blob and vanish. You know, during these heavy days of mirroring and miraging. You know, of course, you know, in the definition they tell you not to believe your eyes, and you know why? You shouldn't believe your eyes that they're going over a curve. But when you have this great visibility, you should believe what your eyes are seeing, because what you're seeing here is a boat on top of the water, perfectly on top of the water, laid out in your line of sight, plain in sight, and eye level is actually above him. If you think about standing on that boat, where would your eyes be? It would be above the visible water. And then if you go out even further, it's going to go out a little bit higher, because it's your eye level. So in turn, this is why when you get to that angular point, and this is why you need to watch angular resolution video from Curious Life, and also watch his angular limit of light propagation. He's got some really good stuff on his channel. Flat Earth curvature problems, which I agree with. One horizon plus zero curvature equals flat Earth. Think about it. No angles on a round Earth, only flat. I'm kind of going down through his channel, and I'll try to remember to put a link to his channel in one of the comments, as the Flat Earth Angular Resolution video, Flat Earth Submarine, you got versus ISS hoax. You got to look at that one because it does make a lot of sense. Also, too, you notice that that boat now changed directions. All in all, check his channel out, because he's got some really good information on his channel. Um, Again, even with this boat changing its direction, we can pretty much see that water being waked up, pushed up in front of it, around. So if this boat was on the other side of the curve, how could I be picking up its wake? You know, if its bottom hull is being, you know, uh, cut off by the curvature of Earth, how am I seeing this wake of this boat? You know, these are these small details that, again, a lot of times you don't see it when the mirroring's real bad, or the miraging's real bad, or the conditions are real bad. You know, the density of the air is thick with a lot of humidity. All this would be cut off, because all of those things affects our visibility. So again, when you get this great day, or a pretty good day of visibility, look at the details that you can catch. Even if I'm a little out of focus, you know, of course I zoom back a little bit, because again, at full zoom, the P1000 is really hard to get it into focus, because when you reach out to dial the focus dial in, the camera wiggles, and I don't care how sturdy you make it, that camera's still going to wiggle a little bit. But I'm thinking about modifying my the way that my camera mounts, to where I can try to center it a little bit better. Maybe this will help keep it a little more stable. Plus, if I can, I'm going to try to use a little something to prop up the front of the camera to keep it a little more stable. But, you know, like I say, this is why I try to use these for my own personal research, because when you go out and you do these observations yourselves, you know what you are seeing, you know what you're doing. So, you know, when I talk about my camera height and everything, why would I lie to myself? Because I use what I say on the video, the audio, to know for me, to know what height I'm at. That way I can do a little bit of math. I mean, yes, I don't take the tape measure out. I've got a pretty good eye for, footage. Yeah, I could be a couple of inches off here or there, even say a foot off. But I can do, when I do my calculations, sometimes I give more leadway. In other words, I say I'm higher than what I am. So if I'm at 4 feet and I say I'm at 5 feet in the Earth curve calculator on Debunked, I can get my readings that way. Now, I recently had some globe turd, telling me that the islands are being cut off, 12 feet, and it's pretty obviously because my observations match that. Well, let me tell you, I'd love to bring anybody out there and show you just this one little portion on the big island, where the bigger trees are. There's a little spot where it's a little opening, and you can see the land that these trees sit on. It's not very high. Matter of fact, I've got people getting out of their boats and walking up on it. It's not very tall. It's not very high. But even from a real low perspective, I can still see that gap, and I can still see land in between it. Now, if that land's only sticking up, I'm going to say 5 feet. Just say if that land is 5 feet, which I know that those islands don't stick up 5 feet, how much would I be able to see if I'm at a foot and a half, 2 foot elevation with my camera height? I mean, and this is what they're missing to see. They're neglecting to admit, because you see these ball babies, most of them are paid trolls. They've got multiple sock puppet accounts that they use so they can keep going back to your channel even though you block them. I even had one recently impersonate a flat earther, and I thought, oh, maybe he changed his mind, he became a flat earther. But nope, he was just impersonating a flat earther so he could go on my channel and try to deter a bunch of my subscribers. I decided not to let these trolls discourage me. Matter of fact, I'm starting to draw my strength from them and use that to my advantage. All right, I appreciate everybody watching.